Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of AndrewsFootball.com. Mock Draft Monday is here! And now I'll toy around with doing a two-round mock draft with trades, but bottom line, the video would just be too long, so I decided to just make this a first-round mock draft. I do have lots of trades, very exciting, very entertaining, but here's the thing here. Are you new to this channel? Because if so, I just got one question for you. Do you like football? Do you like mock drafts? I know that's two questions, but bottom line, if so, you're in the right place. So listen, there's a button right around here. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Let's go. Let's start with picks 1, 2, and 3. Now, about an hour before I started making this video, I tried to put together a Washington-Jacksonville trade. I'm using the draft check chart, and I'm going to put a link below here in the description with that chart. It assigns a point value to each draft pick. Bottom line, I couldn't get the trade compensation to work, so we're going to have Joe Burrow, Chase Young's pick 1 and 2. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. At pick number 3, I go in a different direction. I got Isaiah Simmons. And here's the thing. I'm labeling him as a defensive player. He's going to play that safety linebacker hybrid role. Most mock drafts have Jeffrey Okudah here. The reason why I don't is that if you look at Matt Patricia, Brian Flores, and Bill Belichick, these guys were all together in New England for a very long period of time. They all pay corners big money. They don't play rookie corners. And the reason why is that playing a corner in man defense in the NFL and in college, it's not even the same thing. It's two completely separate and different things completely. I have a hard time believing you're going to have a rookie come in and learn the nuances of this defense right away. I think it's just too much to ask. So that's the reason why I got Isaiah Simmons in here, because you can dumb this defense down for Simmons to be very effective right away. Basically, you're just going to have them see ball, get ball. In passing situations, go to this zone, go to that zone, take deep third. He's got the athletic ability to do that. So that's kind of the reason why I'm going in a different direction. I'm putting Simmons at third instead of Jeffrey Okudah. At pick number 4, we have a trade. All right, here is the trade. The New York Giants are going to get the 10th pick in the draft. They're going to get the 97th pick. Cleveland has 2 third-round picks. This is the second pick in the third round. And they're also going to get a 2021 first-round pick. The Cleveland Browns are going to get the 4th pick in the draft. And they're also going to get the 5th pick in the draft, or the 5th-round pick from the Giants, pick number 150. They don't have a pick in the 5th round in this draft, so now they get the 4th pick in the 5th round. Now, Cleveland had a lot of hype last year. There's no hype going on with Cleveland as of right now, but there probably should be, because Cleveland's made a lot of great free agent moves, but they don't have a left tackle. Now, Kevin Stefanski, last year in Minnesota, they ran a zone blocking scheme which prioritizes movement and athleticism out of their offensive line. They also hired Bill Callahan from Washington, one of the best offensive line coaches in football. So basically, taking the offensive tackle with the most athleticism in the draft makes a lot of sense for the Cleveland Browns. And this trade also makes sense for New York, because you get a first rounder in 2021, you get a 3rd round pick in this draft, plus you still have a top 10 pick. So I have this trade really as a win-win, and I have Cleveland taking Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle out of Iowa. Now, this draft is loaded with tackles. I get that. But for the offense that Cleveland's running, Tristan Wirfs is easily the best fit for this style of offense. And I think there's a really good chance he's gone at 10. So I could see the Cleveland Browns making a move. Like I mentioned before, you get a first rounder next year, another 3rd round pick, and you still get 10th round pick in this draft. So I think it's a great move for both teams here. We got the next 2 picks. I saw a mock draft where these 2 were flip-flopped, and the argument made a lot of sense. However, I still got Tua going to Miami and Herbert going to LA at 6. I still think that Tua's your guy in Miami. And I could see the Chargers possibly going tackle here, but in this draft, you can get a starting tackle at 37, or maybe even trade back into round 1. Pick number 7, we have a trade. Here is the trade. The Panthers are going to get picks 12, 19, and 80, and the Raiders are going to get picks 7, 38, and 69. The way this trade works is the Raiders give up both first-round draft picks, and they get the Panthers' first and second round pick in return. They flip-flop third round picks, and the reason why is that if you use the draft tech chart, both trade values for both teams is going to be 22.65. So if you add up the three positions traded, it equals exactly the same. So that's why you make the trade. The Raiders have made some really great moves in free agency. They still need a number one corner, so they trade up to 7, draft Jeffrey Okudah, corner out of Ohio State. Carolina, because they're bringing in a college head coach and an offensive coordinator who previously coached in college, I got a feeling they're going to make several trades in this draft to acquire draft picks to try to get players that they've coached or players that they're aware of. Spoiler alert, the Panthers aren't done with trades. Pick number 8 for Arizona, I also toyed around with the trade. However, look at the division you're in. You're playing against 3 teams that have run-heavy offenses. Derek Brown just makes way too much sense here. Next 3 picks here. Number 9, Jacksonville takes Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. I can see Jacksonville doing multiple things with this pick. However, when I look at your division, you got Derrick Henry. The Houston Texans just traded their best player for a running back, and you got Marlon Mack. He's a Pro Bowl running back. So that's what you're doing in this division. So I think that getting Javon Kinlaw right here is good draft value. It just makes a lot of sense to me. Number 10, the Giants, after the trade with Cleveland, they get Jedrick Wills, tackle out of Alabama. He's your day one starter on the right side. He replaces Solder in 2021 on the left side. That's just kind of how I see it going. I've had multiple mock drafts where Wills goes to New York at 4, so getting him at 10 just makes a ton of sense for you. The Jets at 11. I have Jerry Jeudy ranked higher by a hair, so getting Lamb here is still great value. It's kind of a shame that the world's the way it is right now, because if Jets fans were in attendance, I don't think they would boo for a change. I think they would actually be really excited about this pick. And guess what Carolina is doing at pick number 12? You guessed it, another trade! The Broncos get the 12th pick in the draft, while the Panthers drop down 3 spots and get the 15th and the 95th pick. Denver has 3 third-round picks, so Carolina's going to get the last one, pick number 95. And with the 12th pick in the draft, the Denver Broncos are going to select Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama. In my previous draft, I had San Francisco taking Jeudy at 13, and then Denver at 15 taking Henry Ruggs. Here, Denver gets the better player. San Francisco does have 2 picks in the first round, but they don't have picks in rounds 2, 3, or 4, while Denver has 3 third-round picks, so they have to draft capital in order to trade up and leapfrog San Francisco, who I think does take Jeudy at 13. Now, Denver has 3 third-round picks. You lose 95, but you still have picks number 77 and 83 in the third round, so Carolina drops down 3 spots, gets an extra third round pick. I think this is a win-win for both teams here. San Francisco here gets the consolation prize. Now, publicly, they're going to say that they were planning on drafting Ruggs all along. Privately, they'd rather have Jeudy. But the thing about having Ruggs, the fastest player in the draft, is that he changes the way defenses play you, because you got to respect the speed. You got to respect the deep ball. So it does provide an element to the offense that you really don't have. Tampa at 14 takes Andrew Thomas. I toyed around with Tampa trading up, but the way this draft works out is that Thomas is available at 14. So I think both these picks are kind of no-brainers here. Guess what Carolina is going to do at 15? You got it. It's another trade. Trading up to 15 is a little crazy, and Seahawks fans have not liked my pick so far. Here's how the trade breaks down. Seattle gets the 15th pick in the draft, while the Carolina Panthers will get picks 27, 59, and 133, their first, second, and fourth. Now, keep in mind, Seattle's an extra second-round pick and a fourth-round pick, so I could see them going ahead and making this trade. With the 15th pick, Seattle Seahawks Seahawks will select Mekhi Becton, the massive offensive tackle out of Louisville. Here's why Seattle makes this trade. Number one, Russell Wilson's backside is protected for life. As long as Russell Wilson is wearing a Seahawks uniform, his backside will be protected by the massive Becton. Dwayne Brown, your starting left tackle, he'll be 35 when the season starts. It's always better to get rid of a player 1 year too soon than 1 year too late. One constant about Pete Carroll is that he's always liked big, massive offensive linemen. I have yet to see a 370-pound offensive tackle run a 5'1" 40. So I got to think Pete Carroll loves that. Another reason, they had 11 picks in last year's draft. You don't need that many rookies on this team. So I could see you giving up a few picks to get the massive Becton. Plus, the value at Becton at 15 is amazing. I've seen a lot of mock drafts where he goes 4 to New York. Almost always he goes top 10. He really shouldn't be available at 15, but take advantage of this. Keep in mind, Miami will take him at 18. So Seattle makes the move, trades up to 15. Carolina now has picks 19, 27, 59, 80, and 95. Plus they have 2 4th-round picks and 2 5th-round picks. So good job on Carolina getting multiple draft picks here. Atlanta at 16 is very interesting because they signed Todd Gurley, Dante Fowler, Laquan Treadwell, and Hayden Hurst. All 4 of these players are from SEC schools. So you like SEC players, it makes sense. You're in Georgia. You're right in the heart of SEC country. So taking an SEC player makes a lot of sense here. I think it comes down to corner. And I think it's between Henderson and Fulton. Now, Kristen Fulton, in my opinion, has a higher floor. I think he's more physical. Henderson is the better athlete, more upside. I kind of went back and forth here. But I went with Henderson because most mock drafts have Henderson going before Fulton. I think you could pick either player here and you're good. You get a day one starter with either one of these guys. But I'm just going to pick Henderson here. But if the Falcons choose Fulton, I wouldn't blame them. It's a good move. Either way, you get a day one starter and add a lot of athleticism to your secondary. You need it. Next 4 picks here. Dallas at 17. In the past, I've mocked Cesar Ruiz here. And Dallas could go offensive line. This is something they've done in the past, is overdraft offensive linemen, and it's worked out great. Now, here's the thing. When I look at Dallas, though, I think you need a center, defensive end, corner, and safety. I have the pick as Kavion Chasen. And the reason why is that whoever's the number 1 player on their big board will go first, whether it's McKinney or Fulton. In most mock drafts and most big boards, Chasen is the highest one available. So I have that as the pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Miami at 18, I've mocked offensive tackle here. However, here's the deal. McKinney's not going to be available when they pick at 26. There is going to be a starting caliber offensive tackle available at 26. So I got McKinney as the pick here. Like I said before, if Becton's available, somehow falls to 18, he's definitely going to be the pick, but I got him gone. Now, Carolina finally makes a pick. And keep in mind, Matt Rule was the Baylor head coach. And year 1, he won 1 game. 2 years later, they won 11. And he's raved about Mims. So I do know it's a little rich at 19. But look at your offense. You have Mims and Anderson on the outside. You have Moore and Samuel in the slot. You still have McCaffrey as your running back. This offense becomes instantly explosive and extremely dangerous. Plus, you still have a ton of draft capital available. 20 at Jacksonville here. Basically, they take whoever Atlanta passes up on, whether it's Henderson or Fulton. It doesn't matter. You get a day 1 starter at corner here. And you add Fulton with Kinlaw. Jacksonville's defense instantly becomes better. Next 4 picks here. I really struggled with Philly because I really wanted to put a wide receiver here. But when you lost Malcolm Jenkins, I'm looking at Philly's depth chart. And according to ESPN, Jalen Mills, a former corner who's being transitioned over to safety, is going to be the starter according to the depth chart at strong safety. Anytime you take a corner and you move him to safety, it means he's not getting the job done at corner. I got Philly taking Grant Delpit, the safety out of LSU. There's not a free safety in the draft of more upside than Grant Delpit. That's why I kind of like the pick here. Plus, this draft is loaded at the wide receiver position. So I could see Philly either trading back into round 1 or trading up into round 2 with the depth at wide receiver. Go ahead and get your receiver later. You're not going to get a guy like Grant Delpit available in round 2 or even later in round 1. Minnesota at 22, thanks to the Buffalo trade. I got them taking AJ Espinosa, one of my favorite players in the draft. A lot of people saw the 50440 and thought that, oh man, it's a terrible draft. That's never been his game. His game's always been with technique and power, extremely disruptive. He's a day one starter. I got a feeling he's a Mike Zimmer guy, and I think Mike Zimmer's going to love him. New England at 23 gets Jordan Love, the quarterback out of Utah State. A lot of mock drafts have had New England trading up to get this guy. This is why New England's been such a successful franchise, is they know how to work the draft, and I think that they get their guy at 23. The Saints at 24. I mocked a lot of different players here, but I got them going with the local kid here. He may not be a day one starter, but he's going to help in the sub packages. Tons of speed, tons of athleticism. He is undersized, but that doesn't affect you in the NFC South. This is a division where teams are throwing the ball around, so you need speed and athleticism. Patrick Queen has that, so that's who I see as the pick here. Next 4 picks here. I cannot pronounce his name, but the Minnesota Vikings at 25 are going to take Noah Igbinoghene. I'm so sorry I'm butchering that. I want to be very clear, even though I really like this player, I don't think he's a first-round player. But this is a guy that I think is a Zimmer type of guy. This guy is physical. This guy is athletic. This guy will help day one in all 4 aspects of special teams. He's going to help in your kick coverage, your punt return coverage. He can help in punt returns and kick returns. And it wouldn't surprise me that in a couple years from now, this is a Pro Bowl caliber corner. But he is a project. So keep that in mind. 26, the Miami Dolphins, just like I said earlier, at 18, they go ahead and get McKinney there because they can get their offensive lineman here at 26. Josh Jones, offensive tackle out of Houston, day one starter on the left side. Great job for the Miami Dolphins here. And at 27, the Carolina Panthers, Matt Rule gets a player he's seen a lot of at Baylor, Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma. He's your day one starter at middle linebacker. Is he a replacement for Kuechly? No, he's not, but he's an extremely athletic player. I think it would be a great fit at middle linebacker. Plus, you've seen a lot of him coaching against Oklahoma in the Big 12, so it's a guy you're familiar with. 28, the Baltimore Ravens here get my number 1 running back. And I think this is great value here. DeAndre Swift, a running back out of Georgia. This is a great pick because you can't have Lamar Jackson running for 1,200 yards each year. That's just silly. And he's a completely different type of player than Mark Ingram. This is a home run threat. This is an excellent receiver out of the backfield. He's going to help immediately. And it's a great... Ingram's a tackle-to-tackle type of guy, more of a grinder. You get Swift, completely different type of player who doesn't have a lot of tread on the tire. So this is a guy who I think will probably get, I don't know, maybe 100 to 200 touches this year, but next year takes the full load. So Baltimore Ravens, great value here at 28. Tennessee at 29 was a real tough one. I had a hard time trying to figure out who to put here at 29, and I've gone in multiple directions here, but I settled on Raquan Davis, a defensive lineman out of Alabama. And for those of you who don't know, Raquan Davis was one of the top players coming out of high school. When he plays at his best, he's extremely disruptive. The problem is he's been hot and cold with Alabama, but I've heard interviews where he just owns up to it. And the thing is, though, is that when he's playing at 100% and he's giving you a maximum effort, he's easily a top 20 player, maybe even better than a top 20 player in this draft. This offseason, you traded away Jarrell Casey. I know last year you drafted Simmons, but here's the way I'm looking at it. You have Simmons as one defensive end. You got Raquan Davis as the other defensive end in your standard 3-4 package. That's awesome. Raquan Davis is the guy that if you had to choose a player that you want to get off the bus first, it's Raquan Davis. Basically, the issue is with Raquan Davis here at 29 is that you're you're banking on being able to get him to get his motor at 100%, to get him amped up, to get him playing at 100% at all times. If you can, this is a great pick here. At Green Bay at 30, I have taken Brandon Ayuk, a wide receiver out of Arizona State. This is one of my favorite players in the whole draft. I absolutely love this guy. I've toyed around with mocking him to both Philly and Minnesota, but I just didn't really see it as a good fit. He really shouldn't be available at 30, but that's where I have him falling to. If he is available, he's going to contribute day one. He may not be a starter, but I do think that he will contribute and it'll be highly productive right away for the Packers. Next, San Francisco at 31. Guess what? We have a trade! The Denver Broncos are going to trade back into the first round. The Denver Broncos are going to get the 31st and the 210th picks in the draft, and they're going to give up the 46th and the 83rd picks in the draft. Now, if you remember, the Denver Broncos have 3 third-round picks. They gave up one earlier, and they ended up screwing over San Francisco, leapfrogging them to 12 to go ahead and get Jerry Jeudy. Here, they give up their second and their third-round picks. Keep in mind, San Francisco, who does not have a second, third, or fourth-round pick in the draft, now gets a second and a third here. Thanks for this trade. I think this is a win-win for both teams here, and the reason why is that I have the Denver Broncos at 31 taking A.J. Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson, and I think Denver partly does this because Kansas City picks at 32. I think A.J. Terrell could very easily beat a pick here for the Kansas City Chiefs. So partly you go ahead and you move back into the draft. You get a day one starter, plus you screw over your divisional rival. So that's a smart move. I think the Broncos did a great job here because they take advantage of their draft capital, move back up into the draft, and get 2 day one starters. So great move for the Denver Broncos. San Francisco gets a day one starter in Henry Ruggs, plus they get a pick in the second and third round, which they're trying to do. Now we have Kansas City, who's on the clock at 32, and guess what? We have another trade! In this trade, I have the Rams trading back into the first round, and what they're going to do is they're going to get picks 32 and 138. I have Kansas City, who will receive the 52nd, the 84th, and the 126th pick in the draft. Now, Kansas City only has 5 picks in the draft, and because of salary cap issues, I really think they are dying to get out of round 1. The Rams, now they're as much fun as anybody in the draft. They're always creative. They're always fun. You never really know what they're going to do. They get pick number 52 thanks to the Brandon Cooks trade, and they also have an extra third-round pick. Now, see, here's the thing about the Rams. They have 2 second-round picks and 2 third-round picks. So go ahead and trading those and then flip-flopping the fourth-round pick. That makes a lot of sense to me. And this is going to be a pick I think Rams fans are going to be a little surprised at, but it makes sense to me. And the Rams at 32 are going to take Austin Jackson, tackle out of USC. Now, here's the deal. Andrew Whitworth's your starting left tackle. He signed him to a 3-year deal, but he's going to be 39 in December. Jackson's 20 right now, almost half his age, and he turns 21 in May. And you have massive upside with Jackson. Plus, you have a guy who's from USC, so your brass should have seen a lot of this kid. You see the potential, you see the upside. And here's the thing, this is a guy who could be your day one starter on the right side, or you could just groom him and start on the left side in 2021 or 2022. The thing is with the Rams, I do expect Rams fans not to like this pick, but you have 2 second-round picks. You have 2 third-round picks. Getting rid of that for getting a guy who there's no chance he's going to be available at 52. None. So go ahead and get him right now. You don't have to worry about your offensive line for in a perfect world in the next 15 years. So that's my 32nd pick in the draft. But just hold on here. Guess what? I have a surprise for you. Bonus picks! Every team that does not have a first round selection, I got your bonus picks here. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly here. 34, Indianapolis Colts, Yader Gross-Matos. I'm butchering his name. Here's the thing about Indianapolis. You have Justin Houston on one side, then go ahead and get another guy on the opposite side. Your defensive line looks awesome right here. I also think that you have a pick number 44. That could be the pick that you take Jacob Eason. I think that would be a great spot there. there. Just throwing that out there, a little extra fun. Houston at 40 is a tough one. I went with Ross Blacklock. He's a guy who I think should actually go late first, but when I went through my mock draft, I had a hard time finding a spot for him. So at 40, Houston gets a player who could be an absolute steal here. I think this could be a great fit for the Texans, and a guy who just could really flourish here is immediately. Chicago at 43 was a pick I really struggled with, but I went with Kyle Duggar, safety at Lenore Ryan, small school guy. Here's the deal. You signed Bush on a one-year deal. You still have Jordan Lucas, but here's the deal here. You got a much different type of player in Kyle Duggar. You got a guy who's a big guy here. He's about 215, 220. A great size-speed combination, more of your prototypical strong safety. You have Eddie Jackson at free safety. I think Duggar would be a great fit at strong safety. It's just a question of, because he comes from a small school, is how fast can he get acclimated to an NFL team? But there is a chance he's your day one starter. And this pick here, I actually stole from several other mock drafts, but it just made so much sense, and that's 49. The Pittsburgh Steelers take Jalen Hurts, quarterback out of Oklahoma. Personally, after the OU LSU game, the BCS championship game, I had Jalen Hurts as a 5th round pick. And then I saw him at the combine. And I was thinking maybe 3rd, 4th round pick. Then I saw him on the whiteboard with Steve Mariucci. He just aced this. And I was thinking he'd be a 2nd, 3rd round pick. And I think this is a perfect fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a poor man, Lamar Jackson, right here. This is a guy I think year one plays about, I want to say 75 snaps, does some wildcat stuff, gets a little garbage time in there. But in 2021, I think it's your starter, barring injury. You've drafted a lot of quarterbacks to try to replace Roethlisberger. You just haven't drafted them this high. Go ahead and get your guy here. Kansas City at 52 was really, really hard. But here's the thing. Here's the deal. Andy Reid, since he's been with Kansas City, hates starting rookies right away. And I know Chiefs fans are going to say, what about Hardman? What about Thornhill? Okay, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but remember when Hardman was drafted, Tyreek Hill was not a member of the Chiefs. He was going through that domestic violence situation. So they weren't expecting Tyreek Hill to be a Chief when they drafted McCole Hardman, okay? And then the thing is with Thornhill is that he could play both corner and safety. The Chiefs are really hoping that 2018 draft pick, Armani Watts, he would be the starter at free safety, him and Dan Sorensen. But it turned out to be that it worked really good that Thornhill looked as a natural at safety. It was kind of unexpected, even though he was the 63rd pick in the draft. But as a general rule of thumb, Andy Reid does not like playing rookies. The Chiefs, what they like to do is draft starters for a year later. So I got the pick at 52 as a guy who I think will be a 2021 starter, and that's T. Higgins, wide receiver out of Clemson. Remember, Sammy Watkins and DeMarcus Robinson signed one-year deals, so they're going to be the starting receivers in 2020. Higgins probably won't play much in 2020, but I think in 2021 he'll be your day one starter. Chiefs fans who are worried about losing players on the defensive side of the ball, remember, they still have pick 63 in the 2nd round and 2 third-round picks. So calm down. Buffalo at 54. This is my final pick here. They get one of my favorite players in the draft, Cameron Dantzler, cornerback out of Mississippi State. He reminds me a lot of Tre'Davious White. He's not quite the same player, but he's a great cornerback, number 2. I actually think he's a day one starter opposite White. So that's why I love that pick here. You get an immediate starter. He's not going to be Tre'Davious White, but great cornerback number 2 for the Bills. Now, these are my picks. All right, obviously, I made the video here, but I want to know what you think. This video is only fun when I get to interact with you guys. You guys tell me, let me know, what did I get right? What did I get wrong? Let me know. Put a comment below. I try to answer everybody's comments. And by the way, you can always email me at askandrewsfootball@yahoo.com. I had a blast making this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Hey, guess what? Another mock draft coming next Monday. And hey, you know what? In 10 days, we got the draft. I'll see you next Monday.